the last one is these classes are focused strictly on Bitcoin education. You won't come here and learn about how to make 5 million into this, like all those YouTube caption, how to make 10 million. No, this is focused strictly on Bitcoin education. So you get to learn about Bitcoin education. I mean Bitcoin. You get to know how to make informed decisions with Bitcoin. There's one post I saw on WhatsApp. It was about one popular celebrity called Shank. He's um he just regret entering the crypto market. So all this is because he doesn't have the right financial knowledge, or he doesn't have the right knowledge to what the financial crypto market or Bitcoin big crypto market is. So with something like this, with these classes, you'll be able to get, if not everything, but at least a well packaged knowledge that you can apply to what you're doing, and you see with time everything would be very, very awesome. So we have amazing tutors, we have amazing facilitators, we have amazing hosts. So please do well to follow them up and learn the best from them. So for our co-host today, we have no other person than BlessedDan. BlessedDan, can you raise up your hand and give us a wonderful hallelujah? BlessedDan,
Amen. Good evening, everyone.
I said hallelujah. Okay, so for our tutor today, we have Glenn, the founder of Bitcoin Ubuntu, and this guy, trust me, this guy is very, very awesome and fun to chat with. So, Glenn, if you're in this call, can you give us a wonderful hallelujah so we can get to
Hallelujah,
know you?
Destiny. Thanks for having me this
Amen,
evening.
brother. Continue. Amen.
And thank you to everyone who's joined
Yeah,
us this evening. I really appreciate being with you all.
yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, brother. So, Daniel, without wasting much time, like you can carry on from here as the amazing co-host, and Glenn, you can begin presenting. So we are very, very keen to see what we have today. And remember, you told us about the lightning address.
We're going to have to go really fast through the slides or go into overtime if we want to do that activity, because it does take time. And we've got quite a few slides to get through, and they're quite dense. So, Daniel, unless you've got something before I get started, I'll let me throw up the slide so long.
Please go ahead, keep going. Let's start.
Okay, let's go. Right, so if you were here on Wednesday, then you'll remember we left off. Hopefully, you'll remember we left off. We had a look at the impacts on society of fiat currency or inflation. And we can see that there was quite a lot of different downsides, right? But in summary, it should be clear by now that the fiat system is not just an economic mechanism. Rather, it's a system that shapes human society as a whole. From the concentration of power to global dynamics, wealth disparities, right? The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And societal norms, right? Most of society operates on this high time preference level. Everybody's rushing around in a rat race and gambling on all kinds of nonsense. The fiat system directly influences how nations operate, all the way through to how regular citizens have to navigate their lives. We do have a quick activity here. If anybody has any comments on this, are there any other consequences that individuals and a society as a whole experience as a result of the fiat system? What are the consequences specifically in your country, if you can think of any, as a result of the fiat system? What's happened throughout history? How did that affect people in your country? I don't know where you guys are all from, but if you've been in Zimbabwe, you've seen firsthand some of the worst consequences of a fiat system when things go really, really pear-shaped. I'm going to share the slides with you guys so long. Increased cost of living, correct, Bosun? Yeah. Loss of purchasing power. Dennis, if you're not seeing anything on the shared screen, you might need to just maybe leave the space and then come back in and see if that fixes it. Peter Blaze says, I can't explain the poverty mismanagement of public funds. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Here in South Africa, the South African rand, just in my lifetime, has gone from $2 to the rand. So one rand used to buy us $2 or the equivalence of $2, where today it's almost 20 rand to the dollar. 20 rand to the dollar from $2 to the rand in less than one generation. So even as the US dollar itself is bleeding value every day, purchasing power every day, as they print more and more of it, create more and more of it, effectively out of thin air in a lot of cases, the rand is losing value even faster. So while we have two-parent families in the US struggling to keep afloat and wondering how they're going to get food on the table for their kids because of how fast they're losing purchasing power, in most places of the world, it's actually worse. I don't know, any other examples there? Never-ending inflation.
Mismanagement of,
Go ahead, Daniel.
yeah, from Busayo, mismanagement of public funds. Then Destiny says never-ending inflation, currency devaluation.
Okay. Right, so moving on. And feel free, again, to jump in at any time. Don't feel shy to unmute your mic. You don't need to ask to interrupt. Just jump in anytime. I would encourage you to do so. And even if you want to turn your camera on, I understand if you don't. If you're shy, that's fine. But it'll help you feel more engaged. The global debt burden. As a result of the fiat system, governments across the globe find themselves stuck in an enormous web of debt, caught up in what is called the global debt spiral. And remember, we talked yesterday about a debt spiral, how an individual or a family could find themselves in a debt spiral where they're taking on one credit card debt to pay off the other credit card debt they can't afford, taking on debts to pay off debt, and they just find themselves further and further sinking into debt that they can't find their way out of. It's not only on the individual level, it's on the nation state level that this happens. So imagine a scenario where you borrow more money than you can ever hope to repay. This is happening on a massive scale worldwide. Governments drowning in debt have been caught in a dangerous game of accumulating more debts than they can ever hope to pay back. It's a story of reckless spending, borrowing, and a lack of foresight that now pushes nations around the world to the brink of financial disaster. And here we've got a good infographic that illustrates just how many, the vast majority of countries are running at a deficit, which is to say that their debt to they're spending more than they're producing. This is the debt to GDP ratio, and you can see it's only the few outliers. And bearing in mind this is old data, so you can bet your bottom dollar that some of these green ones are now red by this time. The debt spiral they're caught up in is like a snowball rolling down a hill. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and the governments aren't sure, and the central banks, how to stop it. So let's have a quick look here at another one of my favorite websites, and that is the US Debt Clock. And you can see just how crazy these numbers are. Really too big for us to fathom properly. I mean, the difference between a million and a billion is essentially a billion. And Never mind when we get to trillions. There's another, let's have a look at this one here. I'm going to refresh this and we can come back to it at the end of the space. So we can see here the world debt clock here at $72 trillion. And you can see the interest accruing as the seconds go by. So let's have a look, in about half an hour, 45 minutes, just how much interest will have accrued amongst these countries that they've got included in the data. I'll drop those links in the chat shortly. The global debt burden then continued. The consequences mentioned earlier, from wealth inequality to societal unrest, won't go away. In fact, we see it getting worse, like pretty much everywhere in the world. When you look around, compare your environments to 10 or the environment you grew up in, to 20 years ago, it's just a world apart. It's not improved in most cases. Instead, the global debt burden has reached a point of no return, ensuring that things are destined to get worse. As of today, the US federal debt has added over $10 trillion of new debt since 2019. So bearing in mind these figures are, I think from a year or two ago, the total debt had skyrocketed from about $23 trillion during the fourth quarter of 2019 to an astronomical 34. In fact, we can have a look here what it is today. It's now over 36.5 as of today, right? From 23 to 36.5 trillion in just, what's that, 6 years, less than 6 years. So absolutely astonishing amounts of money created just in half a decade. Up until 2019, the accumulated debt was at 23 trillion. So to go then in 6 years to 36.5 trillion, it's just unprecedented amounts of inflation. So of course, it takes time for us to see the consequences of that excess money printing. So the pace at which governments globally churn out new debt isn't slowing down. In fact, it's accelerating. And I certainly noticed for myself from a personal, anecdotal level that it has accelerated, and we're only starting to feel the consequences here in South Africa more, now. Not to say that inflation hasn't been bad the last 2 or 3 years, but I believe that we'll probably be paying the consequences of this period in history for a long, long time to come. The year 2023 was projected to be the most debt additive year since the turbulent times of 2021, marked by the COVID pandemic. And indeed, we printed just about as much money in 2023 as we did during a global pandemic. Here we have a chart. It just shows us the history of different global reserve currencies, and more or less how long they lasted. And we can see the Spanish dollar lasted just over 100 years, 111 years, and then the Dutch krona lasted a little less than 100 years. And you can see how their dominance rises and falls as one takes over the other as a global reserve currency. Onto the French franc, also 95 years, and then the British pound sterling, 105 years. So you can see more or less 100 years on average. These, for the last 500 years, these currencies have lasted through to where we are today. The US dollar, considered the global reserve currency, and I think if you're paying attention at all, you'll agree that it's waning on the world stage. So 1920 till who knows when, but history tells us that its days are numbered. Which brings us to more recent history and the cypherpunks. With the advent of the internet and encryption technologies, this opened up new doorways to us. So we've observed a progressive capture of money by banks and governments throughout history, leading to the fiat system we know today and its disastrous consequences for society. But the rise of new technologies like encryption and the internet allowed for new ideas to emerge, such as independent digital money, free of government intervention, open and accessible to all. Let's dive into the journey of those leading this revolutionary movement, the cypherpunks, because Bitcoin didn't just pop out of thin air 15, 16 years ago. It was built on the shoulders of giants. Here we have, according to Hal Finney, speaking of giants, good old Hal Finney. You may have heard of the halving in Bitcoin, sometimes also called the halvening, and often also referred to very fondly as the Hal Finning, in a cheeky reference to Hal Finney, who's definitely a superstar in Bitcoin history. He, in fact, received the very first transaction from Satoshi. According to Hal Finney, then, the computer can be used as a tool to liberate and protect people rather than control him. So that says a lot about him just right there, doesn't it? The second half of the 20th century saw the rise of multiple technological breakthroughs like the computer and the internet, paving the way for a new digital age. A group of people discovered that these massive innovations would soon transform how society functions. They foresaw both the potential and the danger of the personal computer, either as a freedom-enabling tool to empower the individual or as a tool for complete control and surveillance. These people were called the cypherpunks. And we still see this kind of tug of war between online surveillance and people trying to maintain their privacy, those that are interested enough to try to keep some level of online privacy. It's a constant struggle. So the cypherpunks emerged as a loosely connected group of activists, cryptographers, programmers, and privacy activists who shared a common vision: the pursuit of privacy, security, and a decentralized digital future. And please just let me know also, Daniel, if there are any questions or whatever that I'm missing. I don't always remember to keep an eye here on the chat.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye for you. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Feel free to drop any questions in the chat, guys, or just shout them out. Say again.
I said for now it's still blank, so I'm checking it out for you.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Right, so the term cypherpunk is a fusion of cipher, referring to cryptographic code, and punk, representing the cultural ethos of rebellion. The cypherpunks believe in the power of cryptography to protect individual liberties. Their goals included developing tools to secure online communications, anonymize internet activities, and establish digital currencies to operate beyond the control of centralized authorities. They understood the consequences of the fiat system, and they saw the threat of an Orwellian future. If you're not sure what an Orwellian future is, we'll have a look at the definition on the next slide. They believed they had to ensure that the personal computer and the internet would become good things for humanity instead of tools that could exacerbate control of the state over its people. And obviously things like social credit scores and central bank digital currencies are very much in keeping with this Orwellian future that's Orwell warned us of, really. So an Orwellian future refers to a dystopian vision inspired by George Orwell's works. The term is associated with a nightmarish totalitarian society characterized by oppressive government control, extensive surveillance, propaganda, and the manipulation of information. Now, does that sound familiar to anyone after the last 5 years? The term Orwellian often describes a scenario where citizens' freedoms and individual autonomy are severely restricted, dissent is suppressed, and reality is distorted to serve the interests of a powerful and authoritarian regime. The concept is named after George Orwell, who, in his writings, go ahead.
Yes, you were saying, has anyone seen that in the last 5 years? Yes, we have.
Right.
I mean, it's a little bit, like a bit of the social media platforms, like suppression of voices. So
Absolutely.
I won't cut you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, depending on where you were in the world, but we saw it basically on a global scale, unprecedented scenarios where citizens' freedoms and individual autonomy were severely restricted. Dissent was suppressed, like you point out there, online. People were deplatformed for dissent. You weren't allowed to speak about what wasn't the official line, depending on where you were, but it was more or less everywhere that was the case. Here in South Africa, it was headed down the road where I would not have been able to go and buy my own groceries if I didn't go and take the mandated medicine. Experimental medicine, I'll remind everybody, which, I wasn't prepared to do. And if I require permission to spend my money, or if the state can control where, with whom, and when I can spend my money, they could starve me if I don't toe the line. So it's a imperative that we have a money that is out of the hands of the state, so that if we do find, at least that's how I feel, if I find myself in that situation ever again, I will be able to trade directly, person to person, with somebody who would be prepared to take the money off me. And that's one of the reasons I live where I do, and I try to meet as many of I'm not a farmer myself, and there's, I'm not about to start farming at this point in my life, and I can't afford a farm. But I'm fortunate enough to be able to live in a place where I'm surrounded by farmers, and I can go and shake their hand, and I can meet them individually, and I can talk to them about these things. And some of them sympathize with my viewpoints to the point where they would be prepared in that scenario for me to pay them in Bitcoin if I wasn't able to pay them in rands. And of course, the wonderful thing about Bitcoin is that nobody on earth could stop us from doing so. So the concept is of an Orwellian future is named after George Orwell, who in his writings warned against the potential dangers of unchecked government power. And how do we find ourselves in a world where we do have governments with effectively unchecked power is because they can effectively fund themselves at no cost. I mean, where we have to work for our money, they can effectively just print it out of thin air, and the erosion of fundamental human rights. And there's definitely a push toward that. And I thought, I personally think that was made very clear with those lockdowns, how that erosion of fundamental rights, there's an active push in that direction. So Key figures within the cypherpunk movement included luminaries like Eric Hughes, Timothy C. May, and John Gilmore. In 1992, Eric Hughes penned a cypherpunk manifesto outlining the group's principles. The manifesto emphasized the importance of privacy, encryption, and the need for individuals to take control of their digital identities. One of the most notable inventions of the cypherpunks was the creation of cryptographic tools and protocols. In 1991, Phil Zimmermann introduced PGP, an email encryption software that became a flagship project. Go ahead.
Yeah, it seems like Olabijo, I want to ask a question. Or your line is Olabijo. What do you have a question?
Yeah, please feel free to go ahead. Thanks, Blaze. I appreciate that comment.
So it seems like
I know it's nice to be able to just kind of go off on a tangent and chat about the things, but I try to get through the curriculum as best as I can so that we make sure to cover everything that's actually in the student workbook without getting too distracted. But of course, that can make for a very dry lesson. Right, so PGP, again, invented by Phil Zimmermann. This allowed users to, and you can still use it today, allowed users to send encrypted messages over the internet without the ability for anyone to decrypt them except for the intended recipients. Before that, any message sent over the internet could be intercepted and read by others, like governments. So a very important breakthrough in communications privacy. The cypherpunks thought that the breakthrough of encryption, along with the internet and the computer, provided a solid foundation for the creation of decentralized networks in the digital space, allowing individuals to communicate and transact on the internet privately and without the interference from a central authority. And for that, of course, privacy is paramount. The cypherpunks were on the right track to foster a brighter future for humanity, where technology would be a tool to maximize freedom instead of control. The only missing pieces were decentralized network and digital currency. So let's have a quick look at centralized and decentralized systems. In centralized systems, so what do we mean, when we talk about centralized and decentralized? In centralized systems, centralization of power often leads to corruption, which can result in the mismanagement of resources, including financial resources. So centralized systems are like governments. Governments are centralized systems. This can disproportionately affect those with less influence or power, causing them to bear the greatest burden of the consequences of corruption and mismanagement. The modern fiat system is characterized by centralization of control, with a small group of banks and other financial institutions holding significant sway over their economy. Right? Like we said yesterday, or the day before yesterday, you just need Jay Powell to come out and say the wrong thing, and that can affect your local economy. So a centralized system can be thought of as a tree with a single trunk. The trunk represents the central authority or point of control, or single points of failure as well. And the branches represent the various parts of the system that are controlled by the central authority. The tree is vulnerable if the trunk is damaged or diseased because the entire system relies on the trunk for support. So the drawbacks then to centralized systems are the vulnerability. A centralized system relies on a single point, so if that point fails, the whole system can fail. Control and power. Those in control of centralized systems have a lot of power and influence over how they work. And then inefficiency and intermediaries. Centralized systems often use intermediaries, which can make them slow and add extra costs. And there's a lack of autonomy. People may not be able to make their own financial decisions. So banks, of course, are also centralized institutions, and you may just be denied banking services for whatever reason that they may give you. Censorship and restriction. There is no risk of being blocked from accessing. There is a risk, of being blocked from accessing certain financial resources in centralized systems. There's scaling challenges. Centralized systems may struggle to keep up with increasing demand for financial services and resources. So another centralized service, for example, is an exchange, right? A crypto exchange. So we've seen multiple instances throughout every cycle, basically, where Coinbase in a bull market cannot keep their servers up because they're a centralized system and they can't scale to meet the challenge of a huge influx of users. And suddenly when everybody wants to get onto Coinbase to buy their first Bitcoin, well, they can't get on because the site is down, right? Again, illustrating that the challenge of scaling and the downside of single points of failure and centralized systems. So security risks. Centralized systems can have weaknesses that hackers can use to gain access or cause damage. Mt. Gox, for example, and there was another one just now recently, of course, somebody made off with $1.4 billion in Ethereum. They're moving that into Bitcoin, I'm sure, as fast as they can, if they have any sense. The lack of transparency and trust. It can be hard to understand how centralized systems work and to make informed decisions about them because they may not be transparent or trustworthy. Again, and that's why it's so important not to leave your coins on some exchange, because you don't have the transparency and you shouldn't trust. There's too many examples of exchange exit scams and exchange hacks that it's not worth placing much trust in any of them. So if you're going to use these centralized services and exchanges to accumulate Bitcoin, remember to withdraw your Bitcoin to self-custody as soon as you can. Don't trust these untransparent services. So centralized systems compared to decentralized systems. As a contrast, we can imagine decentralized systems resembling a forest, where every tree represents an independent participant and the forest symbolizes the entire system. In this analogy, the forest is much more resilient than a single tree, as it doesn't rely on a single point of failure. If one tree or even a number of trees is damaged, the forest can continue to thrive. Decentralized systems, like forests, are more effective with diverse and collaborative participants instead of a single central authority dictating to everyone else the rules. So the advantages then of decentralized systems are enhanced resilience and reliability due to no single point of failure, increased security as there's no central point of attack for hackers, greater sovereignty with more individual control over assets and decisions, improved transparency as nodes access the same information. We will talk about nodes a bit more in chapter 7 and 9. But suffice to say, anyone can run a Bitcoin node and for themselves audit the entire blockchain, the entire ledger of all of the Bitcoin transactions since the very first block reward that Satoshi earned through to the first transaction he sent to Hal Finney through to, I'm sure you guys will do hopefully an on-chain test transaction, even if it's on the testnet transaction in a later chapter. And that's all completely transparent to anybody who is running a Bitcoin node, and they all can access exactly the same information. It's permissionless in nature. Nobody needs to sign up with any kind of identity, or all they got to do is download that piece of software and run it. And that allows anyone to join or participate the network. There's no leader that has to authorize you or central authority that has to blue check you. No. It's an open network. Enhanced privacy and security through the use of pseudonyms. equal opportunity for all nodes to contribute to and influence the network. So a node is simply a computer that can share information with other nodes in a network, and a network is just a group of nodes or computers that are connected to each other. While decentralized systems have lots of advantages, making decisions together can be a bit tricky. It requires everyone to work together. In summary, in the world of centralized and decentralized systems, it's all about who holds the power. Centralized systems give power to a small group, while decentralized systems spread it out, letting everyone have a say. This shift in power would mean a fairer and more democratic future, where many people influence the system that shapes their lives. One of the most pivotal concepts discussed by the cypherpunks was digital cash. The cypherpunks realized that state and money needed to be separate to ensure that the future would benefit the common good. David Chaum's groundbreaking work on cryptographic protocols for secure and private transactions laid the groundwork. The downside was that this protocol required a central authority to function efficiently, raising concerns about a single point of failure and potential censorship. In the years that followed, multiple cypherpunks attempted to iterate each other's ideas to create a solution for a digital currency free from government control. Despite numerous attempts made over the decades, their efforts faced practical challenges and couldn't fully materialize in the real world. Cypherpunks concluded that it was not that easy to build a digital form of cash that was secure, scalable, and had the potential to become widely adopted. We've got a table here of the various different attempts that came before Bitcoin, right? Like I said earlier, Bitcoin didn't just pop up out of nowhere 16 years ago. It was built on the backs of all these other attempts and from all the lessons that had been taught us by these attempts, by all of these incredible forerunners. And these people really were at the forefront of this technology. So in 1982, David Chaum, who's actually mentioned in Satoshi's white paper, created eCash. This was an early concept of electronic cash, focusing on privacy through cryptographic techniques. The problem, like we just pointed out there, was that it required a central authority. And this, of course, raised concerns about a single point of failure and potential censorship. And then again with DigiCash in 1990, also founded by David Chaum, this aimed to create a digital form of currency with an emphasis on privacy, but again, the centralized model contributed to its eventual bankruptcy 8 years later. Then B-Money in 1996. This was proposed by Wei Dai. It was a theoretical proposal for an anonymous distributed electronic cash system, but it was never implemented, remaining a conceptual idea because it lacked a practical implementation. Around the same time, Hashcash. This one was developed by Adam Back, also mentioned in Satoshi's white paper, was a proof of work system. And this is a big breakthrough. This is really one of the things that defines Bitcoin, this proof of work system. We'll come back to it again in chapter 7 and 9. An absolute genius idea. So this was a proof of work system designed to limit email spam and denial of service attacks, right? By adding basically a cost to emails. It wasn't just free to spam people messages. This did not directly address the double spending problem associated with digital currencies. So it was just one of the small pieces of the puzzle that Satoshi put together with some of the other concepts in order to create this digital scarcity and what we have as Bitcoin today. Then in 1998, again around the same time, Bitgold, proposed by Nick Szabo, described a decentralized digital currency system with elements of proof of work. So here we can see Nick Szabo is starting to put those pieces together. He's taking that proof of work system of Adam Back, and he's kind of combining it with a digital currency system. It was never implemented and remained a theoretical concept, but it was Nick mentioned in the white paper? I'm not sure. I have to double check that. If anyone's got ChatGPT handy. Or we could just pull up the white paper, I guess. Right, e-gold 2004 was a centralized digital currency, so that's kind of a no starter out of the gates, right? So we know enough now about centralized systems and decentralized systems, hopefully, to realize that the fact that it's centralized is going to be a non-starter. So it was a centralized digital currency backed by physical gold, allowing users to buy and transfer e-gold units. So remember that next time some shitcoiner, and excuse my language, but we should call a spade, tries to sell you on the idea of some cryptocurrency that's backed by gold. It's been tried already back in 2004 and failed. Yeah. So legal issues led to its closure in 2009, highlighting challenges associated with centralized digital currencies. It is very difficult to have a centralized backed by gold, because how and who is going to verify the gold? Like the fact that it's tied to a physical thing it means it's centralized by nature. It's part of what failed us is gold's physical nature, right? So Executive Order 6102 couldn't have been pulled off if gold was not hoarded because of its physical nature in vaults. However, the story takes a turn when an individual, learning from the lessons of the cypherpunks, elevated the concept of a decentralized digital currency to new heights. In the following chapters, we'll explore how this person's contribution, building upon 40 years of prior work, ultimately led to the creation of a functional system. And that brings us to the end. We've got about 10 minutes, so if we've got any questions, please feel free to speak up or drop them in the chat. What I'll do in the meantime is I'm going to give you a link to my WhatsApp number if you would like to participate in the auction activity that we'll do next. And we may run a little bit into overtime, so if you want to do that, please bear in mind that we'll probably run through the top of the hour, if that's okay with you, Daniel and Destiny. Then we'll run a little bit late.
Yeah, no issue, as long as we're learning. Take quiet to learn.
Okay, so I'm going to pop a link to my WhatsApp number there in the chat. If you must have, please, a Lightning address. So if you have a Bitcoin wallet with a Lightning address already set up, then WhatsApp me on that number to say hi, and then I'm going to, for the auction activity, let's pull that up here on the screen. We're going to need at least 3 of you. And I would say like not more than 5 or 6 preferably, otherwise it might take maybe 6. Let's see how many we get space for. 6. I mean, maybe 7 if there's that many. Let's see. I don't have any messages yet. But I think it is fairly self-explanatory. We did describe the activity yesterday, and I think it's fairly self-explanatory what would happen. Okay, great. I see Bosun is keen. So while we wait for at least 2 more to participate, I'm going to send you, Bosun. So what I'm going to... Sorry, go ahead. Who was that?
Yeah, from Remy. She's asking, hello. I wonder in the decentralized system, what if some parties don't agree with a decision? How are decisions made? I'm coming again. I wonder in the decentralized system, if some parties don't agree with a decision, how are
That's a great... That's an excellent question. It can be extremely contentious when there's disagreement in a decentralized system, and of course, the more decentralized and the more participants, the more opportunity there is for disagreement. So that's a great question, Remy, and it is one of the problems of decentralized governance and decentralized systems. It does mean things like changing Bitcoin can be exceptionally difficult if you can't get consensus, which when we talk about consensus, that is basically agreement amongst the vast majority of network participants, then you're not going to get it changed. But that can be a good thing as well as a bad thing, right? We don't necessarily want Bitcoin being changed just willy-nilly because people want to change it. There must be very, very good justifiable reason. And the only way you're going to convince the majority of participants in such a decentralized system to make a change is you're going to have to give them very, very good reason to get everybody to agree to run your new version. So it's tricky. It's very, very tricky. And it is why some people theorize that eventually Bitcoin will ossify completely. It'll get to the point where it will be impossible to change anything about it. Whether or not that will happen remains to be seen. Currently, luckily, we're still able to upgrade it, and there are still issues with it that do need addressing. I see also Busayo asked what's double spending in digital currencies. Double spending is spending the same money twice. So before digital scarcity, before Bitcoin, how would I be able to pay you an electronic money without you having the assurance that I don't just make a duplicate of that money, because it can copy anything on my computer, right? So any file I can just duplicate. So if I send you some data as money, how can you be assured that I'm not going to send that same money to someone else? And the act of double spending is exactly that, is spending the same money in two different, twice. So how do you solve that problem in a digital world? A very, very difficult problem to solve, it turned out. People tried for a long time to solve it before Satoshi figured it out. Technically, the node with the longest and latest version blockchain is valid. Yeah, so that's even in the white paper basically is that is described. But the longest, well, it's the longest and latest version with the most proof of work. So it must also have the most work, technically. But that is correct with that proviso. Okay, so I've got let's see. I've got a couple of you now. Give me 1 second. I've only got 2 of you, so we need 1 more in order to get this to work. So what I'm going to do in the meantime, Bosun and give me a second there, Bosun, and Emma, Emma. Excellent. Okay, so we got the 2 of you. Need 1 more at least. So what I'm going to do in the meantime to each of you is I'm going to send you a random number between 2 and 5, and make a note of that, even if it's just a mental note. All right. Well, you'll have it in the WhatsApp, right? So you'll have the WhatsApp. I'm going to send you that number. That is going to be the amount of pretend money. Let's call them dollars. Those are going to be the Glen bucks. So I'm going to send you a random number. It'll represent your amount of Glen bucks, and I'm just going to determine that by rolling a dice. Okay, so it's fair. So roll a dice here for Bosun. Don't share your results. Okay. So I'm going to make it between $2 and $5. So I'll cap it's a six-sided die. I'll cap it at a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 5. I've sent you your amounts. Don't share it with Bosun, with anyone, Bosun. Okay, that's just for your information. You're going to use it during the auction. That's your money to use to bid on the auction. Hope that's clear so far. Let's roll for Emma. Okay, Emma, I've sent you your amounts of Glenbucks. And then Fatih, thank you very much for participating, guys. I really appreciate you volunteering. I should have probably let you all know ahead of time that you'll be bidding on some real sats. So it's worth participating if you can. We'll give it another minute to see if we get one or two more volunteers. If you have a Lightning wallet, I'd recommend you participate. You could win some sats. Let's see how many sats we're going to give away tonight. We're going to do 3 rounds. So we'll do 2,100 sats. Each round of the auction will be for 700 sats. Okay. So I'll let you know when the auction opens for the first round. Let's give it another minute or two to see if anybody else volunteers. In the meantime, I'm going to let me just edit the form here. Let's put in, we've got Bosun, we've got, okay, great, Blaze, thank you very much. We're going to add Blaze as well. We've got Bosun, we've got FOM, we've got am I still sharing the screen there? Yeah, that's fine. I'm not going to share, okay, the amounts, we'll write those in afterwards. We've got Blaze, and then we've got Remy. Okay, so we've got a nice, good full group. I'm going to give you the last 3 of you your amounts now. While I do that, there is still another minute or so if you guys want to join. Let's roll for Mfati next. And then for Blaze. And then for Remy. Okay, full disclosure, I lifted the cap from 2. I lifted it a little bit higher to make it a little bit fairer for those of you that rolled really low. So you all have more or less the same amount. Some got more lucky than others. But if you don't win the first round, you keep your bucks till the second round and, of course, for the third round. So if you don't win the first, you've still got a good chance on the second round, depending on how your next rolls go. So everybody ready? And we can get started. We've got everybody on here. We've got 5 of you. Let me check. 2, 4, 5. Excellent. Glad to have so many of you participate. Right. So I'm not an auctioneer, and I've been to a few auctions before. I'm not going to even try and do the auctioneer banter. Okay, I'm not. I love the way they do it, but I can't do it. So I'm going to just go 3, 2, 1, and then I'm going to open up the bidding. It's for 700 sats. Please drop your bids in the in-call messages there. All right. The highest bid will win. If you guys are ready, or do you want to give TM 1 minute to see if he wants to participate?
Yeah, TM, what's up? Or we can go. We can still go on. We can still go on. If you.
Okay. Meanwhile, okay. Well, it doesn't matter. We'll do the lightning addresses at the end for whoever wins. So, because a couple of you haven't sent me your lightning address, which is fine. Okay, no problem, TM. I could give you a telegram as well, but if you have to leave early, that's fine as well. We won't be long. Okay, let's go then. Let's just open up the bidding. Go for it, Bosun, Ifyoma, Mfatsi, Blaze, Remy. Anybody wants to throw out the first bid? Let's start us at $1 buck. $1 buck. Come on, anybody, give me $1 buck. $1 buck for 700 sats. That's a steal. I mean, you got the money for free. Remy. Okay, Remy Bosun. I think Remy beat you to the 1. Do I hear 2?
Wow.
5. Blaze straight to 5. Okay. And Blaze naturally knew that's the maximum it can go. Unfortunately, if you're Blaze has beat you to the maximum bid, nobody will be able to beat that bid. So Blaze, congratulations, you won the first round. So let's quickly put in the amounts there. We have Bosun had 5. I got to get back to the WhatsApp here. I think most of you had 4, and there were 2 5s. Who had the other 5?
Yeah, Ifoma is 5.
No, the rest of you were all 4s. So looks like you were going to win at the end.
No, Blaze was the 5, right?
Yeah, but I thought somebody else also had rolled a 5 or 6, but it seems I was wrong. You all rolled really low, so I made the minimum 4. So as we can see here, the total money in supply was 37 bucks, and the winning bid was 5. Okay, and the winning bid went to Blaze. So we should put a strike through there. How do I do that? We'll strike through. Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll just Blaze had 5, sorry. Bosun, what did you have? Did you have 4?
5. I had a 5.
You did have 5. Okay, so we actually had 38 then. Total money in supply was 38 units of currency, and the winning bid was 5. Who's this? Blaze. Blaze, if you got a lightning address, please, that'll be first prize. Otherwise, that's fine. We can do an invoice for 700 sats, but I'd prefer lightning address. That was actually one of the requirements. Okay, so we had Bosun with 5, and the rest of you with 4, Blaze with 5. Okay, so this time I'm not going to do the same. If you roll low, you roll low. I'm sorry. Okay, it's going to be luck of the roll. If you roll high, you roll high. That's fine. This time though, I'm going to roll 2 dice. The cap is going to be 10, right? So 6s will be 5s. The highest each roll will be is 5, and the lowest will be 2. If you get 4, I'm sorry, you get 4. If you get 10, you got lucky. Okay, so no cheating this round. You're all going to have different amounts. Again, don't share. It's for your eyes only. Let's do Bosun first. Give me a second. Let me make sure I'm sending it to the right person. Okay, that's yours. Let's do Ifyoma next. Now, you must add this. If you haven't spent, obviously, from the previous round, you can add it. So you'll have this plus whatever you've got left from the previous round. Who's after Ifyoma was Mfatsi. And next, Blaze, and then Remy. So Blaze. Thanks, Blaze, for the lightning address. It's a bit easier. That way I can just verify it's going the right amount, goes to the right place. It's a bit easier. That's yours. Obviously, you've spent yours from the first round, so that's all you've got for the moment. But if you don't win this round, you carry those over to the next round. And then the last one is Remy. Okay, so I've distributed all of the new currency. This time we almost doubled the supply. We'll have a look with that round at the end of the round, exactly how much is in distribution. But if you're all ready, then we'll open up the bidding for the, let me just update this, hang on. Before we go, so Blaze, you won the first round. Just so we keep track of who won. And give me 1 second. I got to switch between a whole bunch of windows here. Okay, I'm ready when you guys are. Let's open up the bidding at $1 for 700 sats again. 700 sats. Will anybody want to give me one?
Bosun.
Okay, we've got an 8 from Bosun. Straight to 8 from Bosun. Not messing around. 9 from FOMA. You guys are not messing around at all. Just okay. Anybody want to? Okay, Remy's giving us a 10.
Ah!
Oh, Blaze, you've been knocked out of the game. Okay, anybody want to improve on Remy's a bit of 10?
Wow.
11. 11. Let me verify you all have enough to be making these high bids. Indeed, you can. Hold on. Hold on. So somebody got 2 here. Blaze, you got 40. Can I send you? Fatih, I just want to confirm with you your total balance, but you're still in the lead there. I haven't checked. I'm going to come back now. Your total, because I don't know why I've got 2 numbers there for you, but your total should be this, okay? So you can't bid above that, and that will be what you'll subtract that with winning bid. So Mfati still got it, the winning bid of 11. Anybody else want to give me 12? 12 for 700 sats. Okay, going once, going twice. Okay, so the winner we have is Mfati. Mfati had 14, so he hasn't even spent his whole stash. He's still got 3 left now. So let's just go fill in the form here. We've got Bosun. Remind me here how many you had. 11. FOMA, you had 13. You could have snatched that from Mfati. Blaze, you were down to 7 because you'd already spent yours. Mfati, you had 14. So even if you had tried to beat him, he probably would have still outbid you there. So you can at least console. And then Remy. Round 1, you spent 4. No, you didn't win round 1, Mfati, so you keep that money. The only person that spent in round 1 was Blaze. So if you don't win, you don't lose your balance. So that's you're fine. You've got. I'll let you know in a second what your remaining balance is. Romy, you had also 11, yes? Okay, so
I think
anybody added that up for me yet? So, sorry, say again?
I think Ifoma is waiting to win the last round because right now she's one of the highest money here. So I think she's waiting to win the last round.
Well, no, we're going to distribute some more money first. So, but first, so what was that winning bid? Was 11. So this should be 11. And the winning bid was 3. Winning bid was 3. Anybody added this up yet? This is 14. Yeah, 14, yes. Help me out here. Was that 14?
I
yes.
think that's 45 altogether, all total. 45.
Sorry, say again.
45.
This was 11. 45. Okay, thanks very much.
Yeah.
So on. Okay, this was not 38. This was 10. This was 22. Yes, 22. I don't know where I came with the other figure. Right. So the total money supply, sorry, you said was 40?
5. 4, 5. Yeah.
45. Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, last round, last chance to win 700. Again, I'm not going to manipulate the if you roll bad, I'm sorry. Better luck next time. So again, let's do the same order. This time I'm going to roll 3 dice. And we do boson first. So boson, that's obviously in addition to what you've got left from the previous round, which I believe puts you at I'm going to put the totals as well to confirm that's your total. Let me just edit this here to be clear. Okay, if you believe I'm wrong, let me know and we can double check, but I think that's correct. Then FOEMA, you've still got all of yours left plus these. So
I'm sorry, Glenn, but the calculation here is going to be 56, not 45.
Okay, on this, thanks very much. This one, 56.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that 11 needs to be added because that was in the money supply. That's maybe why the difference was there. Perfect. Thanks. Right. So yours, you haven't spent anything yet, FOMA. So yours is that, I believe. You can check my maths. And then who's next is Mfati. Okay, and you've got that left. Plus this. So that gives you a total of this. And then Blaze. You've still got all of yours left, I believe. No, you've only got yours from round 2 left. Plus that gives you a total of that. And then the last one was Remy. You've still got all of yours. Yes, plus this. Giving you a total of... Okay, there we go. I've sent you all your totals. And then we're ready for the final round. FOMA. Looks like Destiny thinks you're in the money there. Let's see. Okay, I'm ready to go in.
I just wanted to get the rules straight again. So if you don't win like a round, do you still get to keep like your money?
Yeah, you keep. Yes, you do. Yeah, just to make it a bit more fair for the losers of the first and second round, they keep their balances from the previous round. So when spends, that's correct. So that's why I've given you told you what the total is okay. All of your accumulated rolls so far.
Okay.
Okay, hang on. So there's something wrong here. I'm going to just update this. Is the winning bid there was 11. So here we can see we added a bunch of money to the supply, and the winning bid is more than double in the first round. Clearly illustrating to us the effects of the inflation of the money supply on the price of those
Mm.
sats, because it's the same price each time, right? So last round, whenever you guys are ready, Bosun, hadn't quite opened the bidding, but I guess I can't stop you. So I'm going to open the bidding. It looks like Bosun's starting us at 24. 24. Do I hear 25? I doubt it very much, because I don't think anyone has. I think you've got the most. I think you've got the most. So also now illustrating here that Bosun, by being essentially the closest to the money supply, by having received the biggest handout, okay, in this instance it's largely due to luck, but in the normal world, it's usually because of your connection to the money printer, that he would have got more money first, and he's essentially priced all of the rest of you completely out of that last prize, right? None of you can afford it. So Bosun has won by default of being closest to the money printer. Sorry, guys. But well done. I will send you each your 700 sats shortly. Before I do that, why don't we have a look at the questions here from that we should pose to ourselves after that exercise. We can discuss this a little bit if you guys like. Feel free to speak up or drop your comments in the chat. And then I'm going to just fill in this the rest of the form here quickly. Let me do it like this so that I can. We'll come back to the form once I've done filling it out. In the meantime, just have a look at these questions and give them a bit of thought. If you've got any comments on them, please speak up. And congratulations to the winners. Thanks very much for volunteering. You're 3 of you are 700 sats richer. Let's have a look here. So round 3, we had Bosun with 24, unfair advantage. But this is life. I mean, this is how it works, right? It's unfair. Money distribution is not fair. Then we have 22. We have 13. 15 and 22. I'll add those up quickly. And the winning bid was 24. $96. And the winning bid 24. Thanks, Tim. You beat me to it. So, how did you do that? You've been keeping close track there somehow, watching my dice rolls. Okay, so calculator. Right, so as we can see again there, we almost doubled the money supply and the price more than doubled. The relationship between the money supply and inflation is extreme increase in the demand for goods and services. It absolutely does create demand, excess demand in goods and services, and people end up buying or consuming more than they necessarily need. Okay, if that's it, then
William says the winner scenario reflects the extravagant lifestyle of politicians in real life. That's from
that too, yeah. Easy money. I think Guy Swan has an excellent 2 or 3 minutes. I'll try and find it for you guys and share it in the WhatsApp chat if I can. I forget what he calls it, but it's basically like the give a shitometer. Like, if it's not your money, you don't really care. Like, if it's easy or free money that's just handed to you, you don't think too hard about how you spend it. And that's obviously the case with a lot of government funded projects. Like, the contractors don't care how much it's going to end up costing. In fact, often it's in their advantage that it costs more rather than less, because they work on, commissions and percentages. And okay, let me send these stats to you guys quickly. If you want to hang around to confirm, you're welcome to. But let me grab my wallet. So the 3 winners were okay. Blaze was round 1, yes. Blaze. Give me a second. I'm going to just send this on the mobile device. 1, 2. Blaze. Next. And I'll put it here in the notes, auction. Next. Okay, that's sent to you, Blaze. You should have got that. And then the next one was round 2 was Mfati. Make sure that I've got you here. Thank you. Okay, I got it. So you are let me double check this one. It's a long one. Got you. And then the last one, I believe, was Boson. Yes. And that's this one. Let me double check. Done. Cool. Excellent. So the 3 winners should have their sets. Thank you very much again for participating, and also to the rest of you for just joining us. It's really good to have a good turnout like this. I appreciate everybody's time. Any last questions or comments, feedback?
Yeah, thanks, then. So to everyone who to all the winners, congratulations. People are 700 sats richer. Congratulations. So far, if you have any questions, please feel free. Glenn is a nice person and a free person. Damn. Jeez. Damn.
Lay's also got his own a beginning of his own Bitcoin circular economy project going with BitFitness. Yes, sure. I'll share the presentation. Oh, you already did that. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Fatih. Thanks very much for participating and congrats on winning. And Bosun, the same. Thanks very much for participating and congrats. Don't spend those sats all in one place, eh? I hope you'll put them to good use, maybe orange pilling others, showing them how it works, how easy it is. I mean, look, I don't even know where the three of you are, and I was able to send you a kind of web blazers, but outside of that, I'm able to send you money. I don't know who you are, where you are. I know nothing about you, except that you volunteered to participate and you're part of this class. But I mean, what other money does that? There isn't, I don't know of any other service that I could sign up for where I could do that so easily and so quickly and so effectively for free. I mean, in fact, if I have a look here, I'm pretty sure I didn't pay any fees because we are using custodial services, of course, to send these small amounts. These are some of the trade-offs that one might make depending on what you're doing. But obviously for a small fun exercise like this, it's a small trade-off to make just to demonstrate the power of Lightning. And hopefully that was a very clear illustration of the results of monetary inflation on the price of goods and services. Oh, there we go. TM confirms. Yeah, thanks. Makes connection to the activity. Yeah, no cross-border barriers, no third party. It really is pretty magical. I mean, obviously, if we're using Wallet of Satoshi and Blink, we are actually using third parties. But again, it comes back to those trade-offs you make depending on what you're doing. The fact remains that any of us can download and install Bitcoin Core, and we can run our own Lightning node, and we don't need to rely on third parties if we don't want to, For convenience sake, some people will make the trade-off for small amounts of money, big for convenience and cost savings. But the network itself remains open and permissionless. You don't need Blink. You don't need Wallet of Satoshi. I can open a Lightning channel directly with you if you've got a Lightning node installed, and then we can transact back and forth to our heart's content. In fact, if we have a Lightning channel open directly between the two of us, we can transact for free, essentially, after opening the channel. Obviously, we would have the on-chain cost of opening a channel between us, and don't worry if that sounds like Greek to you. You'll be learning a lot more about that in Chapter 8, about the Lightning Network. But all of which to say is that it doesn't require any permission. There are obviously permission services that people do use with those trade-offs in mind, but at any time, anybody can run their own Lightning node. And again, if we have a channel directly between us, if I have a channel directly with Bosun or directly with Destiny, we can set our nodes up such that we don't pay fees if we're transacting between each other. We can transact effectively for free outside of the cost of opening and closing the channel. No problem. Thanks, TM. And yeah, thank you everyone else. I mean, the class is officially over half an hour ago, so you guys are free to go whenever you like.
Yeah, thanks a lot for all who joined. and it was an interesting class. I believe we will see the same. And once again, thanks, Glenn. You always turn up when needed, and it's like hitting the nail straight up to the head. Like, God bless you. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks. So as you know, if you have any
Thank you.
if it doesn't come now, we have our chat group. You can send us.
Yeah, same here, even me. It's a deep rabbit hole. There's always going to be something more to learn with Bitcoin. No, that's right, Destiny. I'm glad you say that. So I will remind. I think I'm coming back for chapter 7 or so. So yeah, you'll see more of me before the end of the cohort.
Chapter 9, the main parts of Bitcoin that we love, that we ever want to know, the technical parts. And I'm telling you guys, like, that is the best speakers to actually think that particular chapter. So, expecting that then.
Well, I'll be glad to present that one because I have a lot to learn on the technical side of Bitcoin. So the more I can go over that technical material, the better. For those of you that don't know, there will be also like more technical sessions with Felix. I'll be doing with Felix. This is Project The Core. He's organized D++, who is an exceptionally talented technical Bitcoiner, and she's also a very, very good teacher, very engaging and really a good experienced teacher. And she'll be teaching the more technical aspects of Bitcoin. Should you want to go further down that rabbit hole, if chapter 7 and 9 of this diploma course don't scratch that itch for you enough, then I'd encourage you to reach out to Destiny or Daniel to find out a bit more about that one. And Destiny, Daniel, feel free to pull in on those sessions as well. They're open to everybody, and open invitation to speak to Felix and get involved.
Yeah, Destiny, want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys. You guys are crushing. And also, Glenn, you mentioned about doing on-chain. We have the mainnet, we have the testnet. So you mentioned about doing the testnet version for Bitcoin transaction. I'll be very, very curious to see how that goes because I'm also learning on how to do it. There's this wallet called Padawan, Padawan. So this wallet it teaches its users how to do more of on-chain, and it teaches more of Signet, testnet. So I feel maybe that wallet might be helpful also to do that. And it also has its own mempool testnet explorer where you can just click the transaction ID and then check it out.
I hadn't heard of Padawan. I'll definitely have a look at that. Thanks for bringing that up.
And for the section for Felix section, that's very, very awesome. So can't wait for that to share it with everyone. So yeah, thanks guys.
Yeah, it's just getting started. They've only done one session so far, so it's still being kind of developed, but I'll definitely let you know when the next one is announced.
Yeah, thanks for the sats. Thanks for the sats for our people. Really appreciate it. At least now we have people that are 700 sats richer than before. Let's go.
Okay, Bosun, I'll try and remember to CC you in that when the next session with D++ happens. Or probably the best is to actually just follow the core on X, because that's where he'll announce that. So let me just pop a link to that account for you. But if I remember, I'll try and let you know when it happens. I don't want to promise you that I will, because I can be very forgetful. So I'll share the link to the core there for you, and that's where they'll make the announcements about the next session with D++. Cool. I'll follow you back, Bosun, if I haven't already. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Destiny and Daniel, for giving me this opportunity. I enjoyed this week. It was a good couple of sessions, and great work on organizing these cohorts. Keep it up, gentlemen.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. And thanks everyone who stayed by. See you guys on Monday for our chapter 6, where we enter Bitcoin proper.
Yo, Dan, the quiz.
Yeah,
The quiz aspect.
For the quiz aspect, I believe you also had chapter 4 quiz, and now for chapter 5 is going to be our diploma test, our first test. So all the quiz I've been doing since, this is the time that to know if you're actually learning something. And as you know, quiz is what is among the pass mark to tell us if you are actually learning well and if you get the certificate. Our cutoff mark is, if I'm not mistaken, you must get at least 60 over 100%, if I'm not mistaken. So, and 25 is the first diploma test, 25 is the next diploma test, then the rest is based on your registration and how you attend classes, your attendance as well. So, do well to, we'll tell you when this test is being released. So attempt the test. It's a simple question. They are all simple questions, just to test your brain, just to be sure that okay, you're following up and you know what you're doing. Yeah. So just watch out for the test very soon, the diploma test. Now this just so you can be sure, let me just repeat myself. This test is different from the quiz. The quiz aspect, as I said before, is not part of how you be graded. But now this test is among how you are being graded. So be sure to pay full attention to it. This one is not optional. Quiz might be optional, but the test is not optional. If you do want to get a certificate, you need to do the test. Yeah, thank you.
Guys, the test is not hard though, it's simple. Promise, it's very, very simple. As long as you're following up with the classes, it's going to be simple for you and you're doing the quizzes. So there's no problem with that. So thank you, Daniel, for the short debrief. And the quiz will be sent. It's not this midnight as it has been scheduled. So yeah. So, thank you so much, guys, for joining in. And thank you so much, Glenn. Thank you once more again. Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you once more again. I can't wait to see more of everyone. Can't wait to see how we all go along in this journey. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, good night, everyone. See you at the next session. Have a great weekend.